Alrighty, what is up, guys? Evan Aldo here. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoy the content, smash the like button. We're gonna get into some big stuff today. I mean, as you can see here, I kind of don't think this is gonna happen. This is kind of Armageddon. If you repeat this kind of, VWAP coming down while money flow is coming out into the red, deeper into the red on the 2 week here. That's the first thing I want to talk about. Bitcoin. I want to talk about Ethereum. I want to talk about total three. That's the market cap of everything minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, and Bitcoin dominance. Matic I want to look at. I'll take a look at the meme coin or whatever as well. So let's get into that. So the first thing that we're looking at here on the 2 week is the VWAP coming down. You're about to get a red dot here. It was a trigger wave this time. This led to the pandemic drop down. Again, I mean, people talk about black swan events. The only possible black swan event, I don't think this is going to happen, that could potentially make us crash down that far to, this would be around your 500 weekly moving average, 11, 12K. If we do come that low, I don't think this is going to happen. It's kind of like worst case scenario for the short term. But it would be probably US defaulting on the debt or something that would probably wreak havoc on at least US traditional markets. Bitcoin, maybe that would actually not do half bad in that, but I think you would get at least some major volatility if it does happen. I kind of don't think that's going to happen, but what I do think could happen is more like this area that I've been talking about, kind of lately, that trajectory downward, just that same point. And I think it's more likely that you would see either a double bottom at 16 or a little bit of a lower low into kind of towards the end of the year based on this time frame. Again, I mean, with everything going on with the banks, it wouldn't surprise me entirely if we do just come down to retest 20K. I think we most likely will lose 25K at some point into the end of the year. If we don't, it doesn't really change my strategy too much. I'm going to be DCAing in hopefully until as long as this stays into the red. What I'm looking at is into December, January potentially, and I'll give you my strategy for Ethereum as well when we get to that point. But ultimately, when you kind of move down here on the weekly as well, it does seem most likely like we will, probably do something of this nature. It's probably going to be a bit different, but I think we're going to do most likely something of this nature. And I mean, if you look at the, just to look at the 3 week as well, I just want to see how close we are to getting kind of a red dot here. We're getting close. I mean, we're at the 8 for actually the 7 above the zero line right here. Could get a trigger wave on the 3 week, kind of similar to where we were back here. So there are some similarities to that area. Again, unless we have some black swan event similar to the pandemic, I don't think you're going to just crash down that much that quickly. But hey, who knows? I mean, we typically do see crashes. I mean, this was the top over here for Doge, crashed down. This was the top for Shiba. New one's Pepe. I mean, if you do repeat that trajectory, we're in for, I mean, just to map this out, I mean, we're in for a rough ride. I would actually bring you down close to that area. Obviously, less leverage in the market, less crazy, or that would be the case there if it's more like Shiba to come down to that area into kind of July or something. Those are kind of like, that's probably the fastest I could really see us coming down without a black swan, maybe a double bottom into July. That's kind of the fastest I could see. But yeah. And then if we move on, let's go on to the Coinbase chart with all my lines and stuff. And, you're coming up with a VWAP here on the 3 day. So you could get a trigger wave. You could get some upside. We are coming up to the Bitcoin conference in Miami. I will be there. And pretty excited for that. Typically, I know CryptoFace posted. I don't really follow, the conferences and how the market reacts to them too much, but CryptoFace posted pretty much every time there's a conference, price drops down. I'll take his word on it. CryptoFace is probably best crypto trader of all time, best leverage crypto trader of all time in terms of what I've seen. So I take the man's word on it. Shout out to CryptoFace. And split RSI is coming up in the daily. So I do think ultimately in the short term, we are losing this level right now. I'll talk about it in just a second. But in the short term, reverse head and shoulders, I see there could be a potential for some upside to maybe 29, maybe this area. At the highest, more likely probably 28. I do see still that possibility. It's a little less likely now that we're kind of losing this volume area low. right here at about 27.1. That does bring it down a little bit. In terms of the bullish case, you do have a lot of money flow crossovers. You have the 3-hour money flow crossover. 8 hours coming back into the red. This is like a bull, looks like a bull trap almost, trigger wave downward. Market's been a little bit tough to read, as in my my exclusive Discord with Atlantic Horn Crypto Bull Zone. I think Crypto Bull Zone was talking about how it was a little bit tough to read today, and I think he was very right. When it's tough to read, those are the best days to kind of take some time off. See what happens. And if you guys are interested in our exclusive Discord, my exclusive Discord, link down below. We've had a lot of amazing trades in there between me and Atlantic Core Crypto Bull Zone. We are very active. We have an excellent community in there. Definitely not going to keep prices this low. I think it's going to help you guys out a ton. And money flow coming up on the two hours. So it's a little bit conflicting between the time frames. I mean, you're coming up with the money flow. VWAP's coming up. Usually, people like to say, always are like, it's conflicting, yada, yada. Usually conflicting means you're going to be a little bit more choppy, a little sideways for a bit, or flat. And we could go on a bit more, potentially. I mean, see how flat we were kind of here, just staying in that range. We could stay in this kind of general range for maybe, another week or something. Maybe another week, potentially. And before breaking out most likely downward, I think. From that head and shoulders, and your technical target from the head and shoulders is somewhere around here. I mean, it depends how you draw it out, but excuse me, somewhere around here, 24. You guys know there's a lot of liquidations that are going to be just under 25, right around that point. I could easily see us coming down to this spiral line pocket right there and having a bounce there. And if you get to lower time frames now, what we really need to do here is regain. We really need to regain this volume area low. That's going to be pretty bullish. If we're just bouncing around below this for a while, that makes me more inclined to think that the bearish things will play out, such as the trigger wave that could form pretty soon in the 8-hour. Curious about the money flow generally coming out in the 30 minutes. So yeah, it does look, it could look like this potential to come down here. A little bit tough to read today. So kind of just waiting to see what happens here on these lower time frames. Came up a bit. See if we'll just come down lower or regain the level. A little bit tough to read right now. A little bit tough to say. And let's move on to Ethereum. So first thing I want to show you on Ethereum, this is like really, really big in terms of like, repeating 2019, just like that. Money flow is basically very similar. Same height almost for the anchor wave. It's hard for things to get this similar. And if we map out what happened there, if you don't count the pandemic, that's towards the end of the trajectory towards a lower low or potential double bottom towards the end of the year. So that's what I'm looking at on that time frame. The no-brainer area to kind of DCA in, I think, is going to be, financial advice. But I think when you get into the red here, I think that's going to be the big point that I've been waiting for this for a while. I've been waiting for this since probably sometime in 2022. I've been waiting a while for this trajectory to get into Ethereum. So I'm pretty excited that we may see that, within the next month or so to start DCing into ETH you guys all know, a lot of people agree with me here. You guys all know, say we make, get down to here, you're able to get in a lot at 1,000 or something. We come up to, 8,000, 10,000. I mean, that's big gains. Potentially 10x if we do go up higher. We'll see though. And yeah, if we move on to some lower time frames here, obviously split RSIs came into the red. Now you're coming back into the into the green, excuse me. Now you're coming back into the red here. It's like that trajectory. That would bring you right down to, let's see, take a quick look on that. What am I doing here? Take a quick look at this guy right there, that pocket 1300 into potentially July. That's a decent possibility as well. And if we move on, some of these lower time frames, money flow coming out. You do have the VWAP coming up on the 2-day. Daily is kind of, that's the thing too. And you could kind of see this similar thing on Bitcoin with these split RSIs, these gapped RSIs, and then you just shot up here. What I've been thinking was we'll get something like this, but way, way less. Like we'll come up, but maybe just up to 1900. Just it'll come up a little bit, but just a lot less. That's what I'm thinking. We are losing now our point of control here, which is going to be a little bit more bearish. But if we're able to reclaim that pretty soon in money flow, crossing from red to green there, this looks kind of neutral here, but I think the hourly, it looks like you might be able to come up a little bit higher here. a little bit of a tough market to read. A little bit of a tough market to read. The other thing that I kind of forgot to mention, this is a really big fib level. This is actually the volume area low as well here at about 1740. This is kind of the equivalent, how strong it is for like Bitcoin at this area. This was your 200 weekly moving average right here. You got a big pump off of it, which is a pretty good sign. And that's making me think he can come up a little bit higher. Same with ETH. I'm thinking she's got a little bit left here, but it's to be seen. Right now we just got to focus on potentially regaining this point of control right here. On low time frames, you got a bullish div on the 6 minute. Not bad. You're starting to show some signs of turning around, at least a little bit. Some snake eyes in the 16 minute. You're showing a little bit of signs of turning around, so we'll see. And moving on to total 3 right here. So this is where it gets even more bearish on the kind of the macro. I was talking about this on Debate Crypto earlier today. Total 3 is giving us a blood diamond on the 2 week with money flow coming out. How would you guys approach this if you saw this on, the hourly or the 4 hour or the daily? Obviously very bearish. And trigger wave right there to the downside. That was the pandemic. There are a lot of similarities to kind of how charts are looked at on the pandemic. Not saying it's going to happen, but 57% down. Let's just see where that would bring us to. 57% down is kind of this area. You are latching onto something. The thing here is you don't have much. And you got a technical target out of this parallel channel, reverse head and shoulders down here. If you break downward at about 190, probably a little bit right there. After that, your 57 area is kind of significant. And you're still well above kind of your 2019 high, which is pretty interesting here. So yeah, it does ultimately seem like we're going to come down. It does seem like Bitcoin dominance is going to rise. Whether or not we could, show more recovery and come up to 28 here before that, that's a little bit tough to say. Since we regained this level, was more confident on that. Like I said, now I'm kind of repeating myself, but I was more confident on that. Like I said, now it's getting a little bit more iffy. We'll see what happens. Sometimes when you kind of lose hope, then you just shoot right back up. That's what the market likes to do to you sometimes. So be careful. In Bitcoin dominance, the areas that we should compare this to are kind of second half of 2019 in a lot of ways. After the rally, after we started to come down in 2019, Bitcoin dominance continued to rise. That's kind of that trajectory. I don't know if you're going to make it up to 60% or, but I think the odds are very high. You can get up to kind of this area 54, and I think that's your sweet spot to DCA into alts, potentially into, I'd probably start in, maybe it's August where you start into alts, maybe a little bit earlier, a little bit later, something around there. And then I would probably go until like March, April to DCA into alts. And that's where, as long as you're not buying, as long as you have a diversified portfolio with good fundamentals, you have very good odds of getting 10x, 20x's, 30x's potentially. As long as you don't put all your eggs in one basket and you know how to do a good venture capitalism strategy there, I think there's some good odds. The other thing that I'm really looking at for getting into alts, see where I circled here? Next red dot on the 2 week could be what you're looking for. Hopefully that's after we jump up, because if you do see it here, that could be a little weird. If you do see it here, you might have to wait for the next one. And this coming into the green is kind of your sweet spot for DCing into alts. And we all know the most money is going to be made in alts. So that's what I'm looking at. Also, Matic, if you just look at some individual alts here, Matic would be one that really, strengthens the argument that you're going to come down. Blood diamond on the monthly, trigger wave. This guy, you're losing this pocket right here. I'm thinking, man, it's almost looking like best case scenario is going to be this fib level at 66 cents. The other thing, too, I know like a lot of Matic fans aren't going to like this, but altcoins do typically come down like 94, 95% in the bear markets. And, that's 13 or 14 cents there. Don't forget, guys, Cardano came down 98% in the last bear market and still came all the way back. That's 5 cents. Again, I don't think we're going to go that low, but I think there's a strong case to be made for a double bottom here, or maybe even slightly lower than that. We'll play it by ear. We'll see what happens. This one could be where, into August, September, you come down in the red here. This is a good place to DCA in for a few months. And the lower it goes, guys, remember, the lower it goes, the more money you can make on the way back up. And the more people that stop caring about it and give up on it, that's another reason. The more, you could take that liquidity. You could buy it from them after they stop caring, and then it goes back up. So that's what you got to be careful. That's what you got to pay attention to here. Also, let's look at Pepe. Just wanted to look. I'm just curious about this because you are showing you're getting a little trigger wave here, and this is why I was thinking Bitcoin may have a little bit left in it or whatever. Because there's a lot of stop losses above here too. I don't really trade meme coins. It's just kind of annoying. I mean, I've had more success with Bitcoin, Ethereum, but I kind of am thinking it might throw us a curveball, come up a little bit higher, or even back up to this area before coming down farther. If you look at funding rates, those are usually all over the place for this, but they've been highly negative the last time I looked earlier today. So, yeah, I would be careful, but it does look like with some of these excuse me, where was I? Yeah, some of these trigger waves, I wouldn't, I wouldn't count this out just yet. You know what I mean? I wouldn't completely count this out just yet. So be careful with that, guys. That's all I have to update you guys with right now. Please check out my exclusive Discord. Also, really good promo I'm doing for you guys. If you sign up with my link to MEXC down below, really good exchange, no limit fees, and deposit at least $200, I will give you one free month in my exclusive Discord. Just shoot me a DM on Discord with your UID, and I will get you sorted. So check that out, guys. Also, if you want a really good trading course, one that a lot of people have really liked, that I created myself, go to evanaldo.com, link down below. Discount code BEARMARKET 20% off. A lot of people have really liked the course. I think it's going to help you guys out a lot. So check that out. All right, guys, have a good one. Goodbye.